Ready to go?
Yes, let's do
Perfect.
it.
Okay, let's start. Hi everyone, Frederick here from Crypto Hall 24. Today we have a very cool video for you, and we are talking about Alephium. And I've Maud here from the Alephium team. She's the COO of the project. And yeah, before we deep dive into everything, I would just start with a little introduction. Maud,
Yeah.
tell me
So
something about you. Yeah, and welcome here.
thank you so much, and thank you for having me and for giving us a platform to talk about Alephium. So I mean, you kind of said the most interesting things about me already. So my name is Maud, and I work for Alephium, for the Alephium project, and I'm focusing on everything that is not development related. So that that covers pretty much everything except coding. Which is, to be fair, the most important part of Alephium. But yeah, I help the team and the core developer focusing on coding, and so I take care of everything else.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, actually, Maud and I, we met in Oman on the WDMS from Bitmain, and we had a very nice conversation also about the project. And to be honest, I did not know much about it, but after we met, I deep dived a little bit into it. I also wrote a blog article on our website. I don't know, I haven't told you. It's pretty.
No, this is a pleasant surprise. You
Yeah,
should definitely
yeah.
please feel free to share. We'll be happy. Is it in German though?
No, in both languages. It's translated
Okay.
German and English. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Would be thrilled to read it.
Yeah. No, but actually, cool project, and I've seen also some videos on YouTube about it, and yeah, actually, you're standing in a pretty positive light. But before we talk about the project in general, let's start with like a short introduction. What is Alephium? It's a layer one solution. Yeah, give us a short intro about the project. Yeah.
I'll do my best, because every time I try to do like a short intro, it usually lasts 10 minutes. So every time I try to improve myself. So I will do my best. So as you said, Alephium is a proof of work, actually proof of less work, layer one, with really the focus is offering a new infrastructure for smart contract and decentralized application. We have innovation in a number of areas when it comes to scalability, also on the proof of work front, and very importantly around development environment for decentralized application and dApps, because we've made technological choices that allows us to really improve security and developer experience and solve some of the really complicated challenges that we see when it comes to dApp security in the space right now.
Yeah, and also, I think one of your USPs, and that's also what you said, what I understood, that the art of coding. So if you want to develop your own smart contracts, etc., that you don't have to have such a big coding knowledge, because your platform is easier to use. Is that correct?
So you still need coding knowledge, but it is a lot. So right now, the majority of the dApp and smart contract ecosystem is built on something that is called the account model, but on a bigger category, on a broader sense, EVM and EVM compatible chains. And the EVM Solidity environment is a pioneer, because they brought smart contract to the space, but it's also incredibly difficult to write secure smart contracts, even for experienced developers. So you see projects spending a lot of money into audits, which actually doesn't even protect them from a lot of attack vectors. For example, one of the most famous one is called the reentrancy attack, which if you look it up, you will see that I think it was last year, it caused over 1 billion in stolen asset from protocol. And there's a number also of design choices that are making it hard for people to really write secure smart contracts. So while you still do need coding experience, or development environment is really made so that it's really easy to write secure code, the error surface is reduced. So there's one way to do things, and a lot of the common pitfall are being mitigated. There's a lot of built-in test as well. So it was really about making it as easy as possible to write secure code so that developers can really focus on innovating.
Interesting. And if we take your platform, what would you say? So most of the visitors, and including myself, we are not so deep into the blockchain world by itself. So we are into mining, maybe into coin investments. But when it comes to the technological part, I think my knowledge and also the knowledge of the visitors is not so big. It's maybe a stupid question, but still interesting though. What would you say? What is the what is different between Alephium, for example, and Solana? What are your USPs, and what makes Alephium the best project, or why do we need Alephium?
Yeah. So one thing I do want to say is that at Alephium, we do believe in the multi-chain future. We do believe that specific chains have specific purposes and specific trade-offs. So we don't claim or even believe that Alephium is the answer to every problem in the space. But right now, there's, first of all, in the case of Solana, it's not mineable. So definitely for your community right now, they can't get in Solana through mining because it's a proof of stake chain. And actually, in our case, we do believe that proof of work is a better consensus mechanism to ensure decentralization and security. It's been battle tested through many years. And we feel it's a more robust consensus mechanism. And so, you know, in this case, this is one of the big difference. And I think this highlights a little bit why I think Alephium is special, is that it combines really a lot of positive points together into one. But for example, a lot of the DApp and decentralized application, the DApp and smart contract enabled blockchain are, again, account-based, which is kind of what was introduced by Ethereum. And there are also a lot leaning towards proof of stake for scalability at the detriment, to some extent, of decentralization. So we also have a somewhat complicated solution for scalability. We use sharding, which is similar to what Ethereum wants to implement. But because we do it on the UTXO and proof of work technological family, we can do this in a much more lightweight way. So we achieve great scalability while retaining the proof of work consensus algorithm, and we also get very, very powerful development environment. So I think in terms of trade-off for people who believe in the value that brought people to blockchain in the first place, we are a really, really strong contender, because right now in the proof of work family, Alephium is the second blockchain in what is called TVL, which means total value locked. So it's kind of in the value of assets that are being deployed in the smart contract and dApps that are built on top. We are already the second proof of work chain after Bitcoin, and our ecosystem is really just the beginning. So I think for miners, it's about being able to be part of a growing ecosystem of dApps, you know, as a miner, because there's not many chain where you can do that today.
Yeah. I think this we will come back to this topic later, because I think this is probably one of the most interesting parts, the future outlook of lithium mining. But you say proof of less work.
Yes.
Probably all of the people here, they know proof of work.
Yes.
What is proof of less work? So you're stating that the energy reduction is by at around 80%.
Yes, it's actually exactly 87%,
Oh, wow.
but at large scale. So proof of less work is one of the innovation of Alephium, and we have a white paper about it, but I will try to explain it relatively. It's not that complicated compared to the rest of the innovation. So basically, Alephium is classic proof of work until a certain hash rate. Once the hash rate threshold is reached, which is 1 exahash in our case, the cost of mining a new block continues to increase as it does on proof of work. But instead of that cost being paid by miners exclusively in computing power, it is now paid in computing power and by burning Alephium. So you basically kind of cap the energy consumption of the network at large scale, because past a certain point, even though the cost increases, a majority of that cost is now being paid by burning Alephium upfront rather than providing more computing power. Even you still have to provide more, just not as much more as you would on proof of work. And at large scale, it's really at large scale. This would be a reduction of 87% of the network consumption compared to if it was running on classic proof of work. But today, Alephium is still on classic proof of work 100%.
Yeah. And how does your emission schedule look like? Is it like Bitcoin? Is it capped? Is it with Casper for example, Casper does it with, like I always say, mini halvings, with the monthly reduction of the emissions. How is it with Alephium?
Yeah, so it's a bit more complicated, but also maybe a little bit more interesting long-term for miners, in the sense that we don't have halvings. So the emission schedule is decided because of two parameters. You have a hash rate based reward, and you have a time based reward. So depending what is the lower at a given point in time, this is the reward that will be used. Right now, it's mainly the time-based reward that is being determining in the emission schedule. And so right now, it means that it's decreasing linearly, basically. Decreasing linearly. And then after that, it will stay constant over time. But it will also vary, but then maybe the hash rate component will come into action. The hash rate component is a little bit more complicated. We have a whole article that maybe we can link under this video. So it's not the same. There's no halving. It depends on the time and on the hash rate. And if I'm not saying something completely wrong, it should be a little bit a smoother decrease over time, because with Bitcoin, we are almost at, I was at a party for the halving where they talked about this, I should remember, but almost all the supply has already been mined, but we still have many years.
I think like 19.5 million, probably. I'm not sure. I will show it maybe here. But I think 19 to 20 million Bitcoins are already mined.
So I think it's over 90% of the supply of Bitcoin has been mined, but the time period over which it needs to be emitted, we're far from 90% of the emission time. And we also have to go back at the beginning of your question. There is a theoretical maximum supply for Alephium, which is 1 billion ALPH. And the majority of that supply, 86%, is going to be mined over the next around 80 years. But the effective total supply, so the total supply are the coins that are in existence at a given point in time, will actually never reach this maximum, because there's a number of deflationary forces, basically burning mechanism, that kind of reduce the supply. We just talked about proof of less work. This is one of them. But also right now, so first, when we launched the network, 50% of the transaction fee were burned. Right now, 100% of the transaction fee are burned. And this is something that can and probably will change in the future with future network upgrades and things like that. But also reduce the total supply, basically.
Maybe a question, but which comes in my mind right now. So with Ethereum, or how likely do you see a hard fork in the future to change from proof of less work to proof of stake? I mean, probably you are very pro proof of work. I know that. But do you see this could be a realistic case in the future, or do you say no way?
I would say no, honestly, because the thing is, the whole point of a decentralized network is that it's decentralized. So at the end of the day, we don't get to decide. As soon as the mainnet was launched, it's no longer us, the core contributor, and people like this that we can propose, but we can't impose any change of direction. So saying it's impossible would be lying, because at the end of the day, we don't choose. It's the network who choose for itself. But I would say that from the core contributor perspective, we wouldn't be putting forward a proposal to switching to proof of stake, because there was a reason we didn't choose proof of stake in the first place. But I do want to say that one thing, Alephium, a lot of our technology have been built so that they are agnostic from one another. So, for example, our sharding mechanism is consensus algorithm agnostic. So meaning that in the future, as technology evolves and maybe innovation comes and things change, we try to make it that Alephium is resilient and can adapt. If you see the time it took Ethereum to move from proof of work and proof of stake, you see that it's complicated to make such big changes. And sometimes they are necessary, sometimes they are not. But I think that being humble about not knowing how technology evolves is important. So a lot of the tech that was built, a lot of Alephium is built to be resilient to such changes. But I honestly don't see, at least from the core contributor perspective, this isn't a change that we would push, because there was a very strong belief into choosing proof of work as the consensus mechanism for Alephium.
Yeah. I think this is also a very, very important information also for the potential lithium miners. I think this is also, the next topic on where I have a lot of questions. So, Alephium, you started the project, or the project went live. Oh, I'm not sure in the beginning of 2022. Is that right?
End of 2021, so almost.
Okay.
So the mainnet was launched at the end of 2021, and we had our first listing at the beginning of 2022. Like we were listed on our first exchange by the end of 2020. By the beginning of 2022, sorry. But the project started a little bit earlier than mainnet launch, of course. So the white paper of some of Alephium core innovation were
2019?
Publicly 2019. 2019, the testnet was finished. The testnet was live in December 2020, and then mainnet a little bit less than a year later. And since then, really, we keep building. This is what we focus on, and honestly, it's really nice to see, because we are reaching a point where the ecosystem is really blossoming. We're seeing more and more things, and again, having achieved such a high TVL, which means at least interest into the ecosystem being built on Alephium at such an early stage, because we still have, I don't want to say basics because they are not simple, but I would say the standard dApps that people expect from an ecosystem. So we have DEX, NFT marketplace, a number of betting games, but we don't have yet maybe the dApps that usually drive higher TVL, like lending protocol, perpetual DEX, kind of a little bit, and those are coming into Alephium. So I think we are very humbled to see so much interest and going into the ecosystem at such an early stage, because I think we are really, really just at the beginning. There's a lot of new things coming to the ecosystem that will really allow it to, blossom even further.
Yeah. I mean, it's also very, very cool for you as a new project that, for example, big or well-known companies as Goldshell or Bitmain, there are also some rumors, we talked about it before the call, that they are building ASIC miners for your project. I mean, this is like a very, how to say that in English? But
show of faith. I don't
know. True. Because they won't do it out of fun, because they're still like a very, very profit-oriented businesses. So this is very, very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, we were quite, Alephium from the get-go was designed to be ASIC friendly. That was a design choice to not pursue ASIC resistance. Alephium was ASIC friendly, so there was always we knew ASICs would come to Alephium at some point. We didn't expect it to come this early. I'm not sure. I haven't checked, so I don't know. But I don't know that many chain had ASICs this early when it comes to market cap and time about the project. So I think, we were very happily surprised about the confirmed and the rumors as well. And actually, your point right now just got me thinking again about, you asked me why is it interesting for miners for Alephium? And I touched on the fact that there's not many proof of work chain right now with DeFis and dApps, because and I think this actually feeds into a second thing, specifically as we enter the realm of professional mining, because again, it's generalization, and it's not true always, but a lot of people see GPU mining as more hobby mining. In general, it's not true. Of course, you have professional GPU miners, and ASIC a little bit more professional setting. And as you enter this professional mining, it also means you have more frequent operational costs, and that means that sometimes you have to cover those costs. And in a lot of ecosystem, your only option is to basically sell the coin that you've mined. And with Alephium being smart contract and dApp enabled, it also means that you will have natively into the ecosystem that you are contributing through mining, you will have option to get loan in USDT, for example, with your ALPH as collateral. So instead of selling the coin that you are continuing to mine, you can actually invest it, in a sense, into the ecosystem, still have a way to cover your costs, but you're actually continuing to contribute to the ecosystem, which in turn, keep your mining operation profitable. Because if you, instead of selling, if you have an ability to reuse those coins into their own ecosystem to make that ecosystem stronger, you kind of have when everything goes well, you have a virtuous loop. And again, within the proof of work family, you don't have a lot of coins where you can do this. And even in Bitcoin, a lot of times you do this with wrapped Bitcoin on other chain because you don't have much native solution. So anyway, I think this is a great value proposition that Alephium can have for miners, because instead of, I don't want to say dump, but having to sell to support your thing, the coin that you support, you can really, again, have this virtuous loop of supporting the ecosystem of the coin that you are mining, and like this.
Yeah. And I mean, besides that, if the first people who will get ASIC miners, they are going to be unbelievable profitable. At least if we take if we have a look at the network hash rate right now. This is also a topic I want to talk about. Well, let me share my screen. Give me a second. Can you see minerstat.com? I think you can, right?
Yes.
Hopefully it's gonna be recorded, because I don't know how it goes.
I mean, I can see it, so I hope your screen would be, but yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So here it's pretty interesting, though. Here you can clearly see that the hash rate was really like going very linear, very, very constant. And here we reached a point where it's going, up a lot. So would you say, or did a lot of hash rate came by yourself, or are these like random miners and you don't know where the hash rate comes from, at least until, let's say, January 2024?
So let's say from the core contributor side, we are not mining. None of us are miners. So we don't know where the hash rate comes from, to the extent of course, we have miners into our community. So we know some miners of our ecosystem, some of them having large or smaller setups. So we know some of our miners, but none of it, we are not behind, the core contributor are not behind any of this hash rate. And what is interesting is that the increase of hash rate also kind of started around the time we released also our bridge, and we saw also a big development of our dApp ecosystem, kind of a little bit of a jump when it comes to this. So it's interesting to see that at the end of the day, even if in some cases the dApp ecosystem and mining are separate, actually both have seen a growth around the same period of time.
So when was the release? It around December 2023?
So we released the bridge in kind of middle of November.
Okay.
November, and that brought stablecoin to our ecosystem, because we were able to bridge stablecoin into Alephium. The other side was also that you could bridge Alephium to Ethereum, and you could trade on Uniswap. And that kind of increased our volume also. The volume of Alephium being traded exploded as well. The DApp TVL exploded. I think from end of November till today, the TVL, so the asset locked on protocols on top of Alephium, increased by 1,800%. So we see, it's interesting to see that kind of every aspect started their a growth around the same period of time.
So when it comes, so let's talk more about mining Alephium, the profitability, etc., etc. So right now there is only one official announced Alephium ASIC miner available from Goldshell. And do you think these miners have been live or for testing reasons? For example, from January to March, the hash rate increased by 4.5 times. And then the hash rate went down, and that's typically a sign when manufacturer of ASIC miners, they test the machines for a while, and then they make it ready for shipping. And also now the hash rate is exploding as hell. And we were talking about it, that maybe an assumption would be that Bitmain is testing the AL3. How do you explain this?
I mean, I can't explain it. I mean, if we believe what you said, then you see that the decrease doesn't match the increase that was this. So it kind of shows that the increased hash rate that you saw, if it was caused by Goldshell miners, it wasn't causing the entirety of the hash rate increase, because while the hash rate decreased a little bit in end of March, it has not decreased as much as it was before. And from my understanding, they have started shipping the first batch or batches, because I think I've seen one review so far of the Goldshell, a couple of reviews of the miners, which kind of means they are in the process of sending them. So at least the part of their miners that they are shipping are not on the network right now, because they are being shipped. They are being shipped, right? It's difficult to know on the Bitmain front. In this front, we are kind of like everyone, even though they were sponsor of our hackathon and they kindly invited us to the conference where you and I met. We don't have much more information about their plan. They haven't confirmed an ASICs at that point in time. They haven't confirmed testing one. So it's difficult to can't give you more information than what you see. We see the same rumor as you. But I would say it's typical from our very limited experience. What we've seen is that manufacturers keep this information very close to the chest, and with even sometimes internal people finding out about a miner the day it's being announced. So it's not surprising that nothing has, that there's not much information circulating.
In June there's the next WDMS, I think, on Las Vegas, and probably this from this time frame, it's like in 7 weeks, 8 weeks, no, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Probably this could be a good time point that Bitmain announces and an Alephium ASIC. But still, though, it's still super interesting. Let's deep dive a little bit more into it. So right now, from let's say January to today, the hash rate increased by 5 times. And if we say there are no Bitmain miners live yet, maybe this spiker is from some of the first delivered Goldshell miners, which we don't. We talked about it before. We don't think that these are the AL boxes from Goldshell. How do you see the hash rate in 3, 6, or 12 months, and even in the future in general? Because let's say the Alephium miner from Bitmain, the rumors, everyone says at around 8 terahash. So right now we are at around 800 terahash, or close to 800 terahash. So if Bitmain releases 100 machines, and 100 machines is nothing for Bitmain, the hash rate doubled. So let's say if they sell a couple of hundreds,
I would say, like, as any proof of work chain, an increased hash rate is positive, right? It's more security for the network. So let's say in general, we do hope to see the hash rate increase. specifically also, as we talked about before, the proof of less work, it only activates at a certain hash rate as well. So I think we hope to see over the next years, months, weeks, years, over time, to have the hash rate increases, because one, it shows more adoption. It's also more security for the network, less risk for 51 attack, like you mentioned before. I think it was before the call. So for us, it would be really positive to see the hash rate increase over time, definitely. So I would definitely hope and expect it to increase this over time.
Yeah. But now you're talking with a miner who is all very, very affected by rising hash rates, and also the potential Alephium miner buyer. They will also be affected. And so far we got many requests about future outlooks of Alephium. It's very, very hard to say that. My guess is, and I mean, of course, it would be nice for you, or in general, that the hash rate increases. But a miner, so if you buy a miner, you don't do it because it's a hobby. I mean, but in the end of the day, you want to earn money with it, because you have a high investment.
Right.
You have a lot of trouble with operating the machine and this and that. And you have to, and even the machine prices. So if the Bitmain starts selling the machine, or even Goldshell now, then the intro or the initial investment to buy such a machine is very high. And
I mean, there's many factors that impact profitability. Again, right now, it's mainly the time-based factor that impacts the mining reward. So even though the hash rate has an impact, right now it's mainly the time-based reward that impacts it at that point in time. So at least in the beginning, the hash rate won't necessarily have an impact until the hash rate increases quite a bit. I talked about this recently, and I think I would have to get the article open so that I don't say something, but I would say up until at least 1,000 times more than what we have, it would still be the time-based reward that kind of determines the amount of ALPH, the block reward. And so the hash rate itself won't start impacting the reward until at least 1,000 times more than where we are right now. So there's that. And I think into profitability, again, there's a lot of other many ways you can see it. It depends on the price of the token. And as I discussed before, it also depends on the ecosystem, because a lot of miners are not necessarily, I've seen from, again, limited interaction, so I don't want to make a generalization like this, but a lot of miners don't, a lot of time mining and DeFi are quite separate. But actually, you can also, there are many ways you can leverage DeFi to increase your profitability, basically, with the ALPH that you have. So it doesn't have to stop at you mining the Alephium there. You can then leverage those Alephium into the ecosystem to increase your profit, cover your costs, and things like that. And I do feel, again, that this is where Alephium also kind of differentiate itself from other mineable projects today. Obviously, everything changes very quickly, is that you have many other opportunity to leverage the Alephium that you have mined, instead of just simply selling them. And so I think, again, that takes profitability a little bit. You can also see it a little bit different than the very straightforward, the token price at the end of the day decides your profitability.
These are very, very important information, because we tell all our customers that everyone has to do their own due diligence. I mean, we can always give a good recommendation, what we think which miner is profitable or which project is going to blow up. And I think actually in this meeting we put a lot of interesting information on the table when it comes to Alephium, and even especially Alephium mining. Maybe a question, or a last question. So if an Alephium miner would like to ask you if he should, okay, here I will have a small cut.
No worry.
No, So if an Alephium or potential Alephium miner would ask you, should I start with Alephium mining, yes or no? You would say yes, of course, yeah.
I mean, I don't tell, we try to never tell people what to do. I would tell them, do your own research. You know, you have to, I think, but what I will say about Alephium is that from personal knowledge is that we work really hard. We've been building since day one. We launched right at the end of the bull market, and we basically spent 2.5 years in a bear market. I think we have consistently delivered. We have a network upgrade coming now. It will go on testnet live next week. That really brings a whole new level of convenience and features to the chain. And I think we have a verifiable track record of delivering both on the technical side, but also user experience. If you check our wallets and things like that, you can check, you can verify again the dApp ecosystem, which is just nascent, but already so promising. So I would say, I would hope that if you did your due diligence, you would find Alephium worthy of your mining rigs. But definitely do check it and make your own opinion yourself.
Definitely. And also, beside the project, we are probably just in front of the next bull run. And so in the last bull run, it was like this, that so much liquidity flow into the whole market, even in projects with who had no actual like real approach to do something at all. So I think also when it comes to timing, it's a good. So if you want to start with the Alephium mining, so right now probably is one of the best moments for it. If you get the hardware for a decent price, because right now the Alephium gold chain miner is super expensive. Yeah, like really expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. I will be fully honest. I have no idea about how to assess. I do saw that they came out, their public price was a lot lower. Probably not low enough, but at least a lot lower than what people had been advertised before they came out with the price, which, you know, I don't know what happened there for sure, but I guess, you know, it's difficult. We'll have to wait for people to actually start receiving them and to be able to verify the performance and the profitability. I think I honestly don't have, you know, better than me in terms of like, because they were, I think they were claiming something like $100 a day of profit or so, or
probably, yes.
something like that, or at least $100 mined or something like this. So I have no clue if this is, you know, how do you equate that to, you know, how long you want to have the ROI, sorry, switch to French all of a sudden, ROI for your miners, like what is your time frame, how long do you want it, and things like that. So I mean, I guess time will tell. I do hope that mining, ASIC mining for Alephium stays accessible and is accessible and profitable for miners to jump in. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. I think this was a really good summary and outro for our video. Yeah, thank you so much for your time and for all the information. I think probably this could be one of the best and informative video for Alephium mining. And yeah, thank you so much, Maud, for your time.
Pleasure, anytime. Happy to come back. You know, when more ASIC-Miner are available for Alephium, and to follow up on this discussion at a later stage. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Yeah, and also for all the visitors, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have further questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, or if you are interested in buying some ASIC miners, or especially Alephium miners, you can find the links to our website and to our contact form here under the video. Was a pleasure to have you here, and see you later.
Thank you very much.